Hello and welcome to the Flipped Learning Podcast number 120. I am Joan Brown, the co-host, and the main host is right here, Troy Cockrum. And our guest this evening is Alice Keeler. Hello, Alice.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
And first of all, we know each other from the Google Teacher Academy, but also, Alice, you've branched out on your own. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you're doing?
Yeah, sure. So I taught high school math for 14 years. And, always in the course of teaching, you're working with other teachers and doing different things with technology. And I ended up having to leave the classroom due to health complications. But I'm now teaching at the university, Fresno State, and I teach teachers how to integrate technology into the classroom. I also have a fairly popular blog, alicekeeler.com, where I share different tips of how to use different technology products, but always trying to put it in the scope of how you would teach with us. And I do the Bing in the Classroom lesson of the day. And so that's a really fun experience to take an image and think of an essential or I
think we froze. And I wanted to hear what she was going to say. So it sounded like she was taking an image in the classroom and using that as a lesson. So
I'm sorry.
Oh, please tell us what you were going to say.
I have my phone, so apologize. I got today. So anyway, I'm getting my doctorate in educational technology with an emphasis in games and simulation, because shouldn't school be just a little bit more like World of Warcraft?
Yeah.
So I'm actually here at a hotel where I was at a Minecraft Innovator workshop today with some just movers and shakers in the Minecraft community for education. So that was a really neat experience. Unfortunately, that doesn't put me in a place where I have great Wi-Fi right now, so I apologize.
We're just happy you're here.
In a nutshell, and I have 5 kids.
All right, you get a pass then. So, Alice, you were just about ready to say something about using an image, and you cut out. We wanted to hear the rest of that.
I was saying that what I do is I take the image of the day from Bing, and I write an essential driving question, so it's a search lesson. So students you're looking for something that they wouldn't find information on one website, and then I create 5 scaffolding questions to help them to build up to answer this larger question. And I love this project because it really focuses on pedagogy over tools, and that, the importance of having kids be seekers of information, and that they would be able to discern how to find good information and that it is good information. And so I think that's a really important project, and I do that every day.
That's challenging, though, because you've got to come up with a question, yes, that you can't get with one search.
That's correct.
Those are tough. I've done this, and I've had to really think hard to come up with something that you couldn't just Google.
Exactly, right? And so that is the big challenge. And so again, I have to do it every day, and it's based on the image. So they keep sending me pictures of volcanoes. So I'm not sure how many questions I could write about a volcano anymore.
What was the flop movie that had Tom Hanks in it? Yeah, but so I mean, that in itself is a really, really great idea. But I think one of the things that's really popping up a lot, and I know in our district we're talking about Chromebooks, and we are trying to understand, which Chrome apps are out there, what should we be looking for, what are we doing with them, how to integrate it in the curriculum.
Yeah.
All those big questions.
I don't have a list in front of me, so I'll try and think of this off the top of my head. I mean, the first thing that we always want to recognize is that a tool is a tool, and there's no silver bullet, and there's no one thing that you should do that's going to magically transform your teaching. You have to transform your attitude and shifting towards being student-centered. So there's a lot of Chrome apps that are really useful for helping not only with classroom management, but helping students to be more productive, and which one of those do you push out to your students? So first, I'm going to share then, I guess, some of the Chrome apps that are Chrome extensions that I use. Is that all right?
Sure, please.
So if you actually go to my website, alicekeeler.com, I just yesterday posted a blog post of 4 more Chrome extensions for teachers, and I have a link to a list where I have probably up to 75 now, and there's no way I'm going to remember them all, but I go in and I just hit the Chrome Web Store and I play with a bunch of them, and I'm like, how could you teach with this? Why would this be useful? So you can find a bunch of those listed. So my favorite ones that I use on a regular basis is I use one called Shorten Me, which when I click on it, and of course you won't be able to see it even if I screen shared, but it creates a short URL, a goo.gl, and the QR code. And so just really quickly, I'm able to use those to populate in an email or on directions for students, because you don't really want to give that huge, giant URL. The kids will never get there. So that's something I use probably daily. The other Chrome extension that I love is a must-have, I think, for teachers and students, is the Snagit Chrome extension. Now, I have a full version of Snagit on my computer, and it's probably hands down one of my favorite tools. I can annotate, I can blur out student names, I can crop, and just the ease of making screenshots, because I want my students to be independent. I don't want them to be dependent on me for information, and I need to embed the curriculum, or excuse me, the technology into the tasks they're doing. We don't have a technology lesson. So within the instructions for what they're doing is, this is the tool it is, this is the button you need to click on, and you give them those instructions with it. So Snagit's hugely important. So I wasn't getting into the Chrome extension because I have the full extension. Why do I need the Chrome extension? So recently I started playing with it. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's like gold. It's like my new favorite thing. Not only can students record video screencast, it saves to their Google Drive, which is hugely important. But if they do it in 20 seconds or less, which I love constraints, it really forces you to be creative. Another good reason Twitter. But in 20 seconds, you can make an animated GIF, and it's much larger than the one I can do. I have a different Chrome extension that makes animated GIFs for longer ones based on YouTube videos, but I can do it quicker, and it's bigger. And so having students document their process of what they're doing is amazing. And then from the teacher side, I want to show it loops, right? A GIF loops. So whatever my directions are, they can see click on this, click on this, click on this, or whatever concept that I want to get across the rote stuff.
Right.
GIFs are great for that. I have another one called Too Many Tabs that counts how many tabs that I have open. So right now I have 20 tabs open, because if I have 42 open, something is wrong. But actually Chrome tabs are really, really RAM. They suck a lot of RAM. And so kind of reminding us your computer's going to be really sluggish and it's going to crash. But it also allows me to then hide tabs into the background so that I can save it, more like temporarily bookmark it, and then go back to it later without it sucking up all my RAM. So that's a really important app that I use. I have one called ColorPicker. Let me just hover over this to make sure that's it. ColorPic eyedropper.
I use that one.
It's so great for using in Google Slides and Google Docs, and to just get, that element of design and getting things just the right color so it matches the school colors, it matches the Google logo, whatever. When you're in a Google product and you want to do the colors, at the bottom it says custom, and it allows you to paste the web HTML code, which is what you were able to copy and paste from that Chrome extension. One that I really like and I really endorse teachers to install is the Move It Chrome extension. And this is by the PE Geek down in Australia. And there's so many things I love about the PE Geek, where he shows how you use technology for fitness and lifelong fitness. And I'm a big advocate of cross-curricular collaboration, and that we should value what's going on in other classrooms in our class. And so it drives me crazy that some students get PE every other day at the end of the day, when there's so much research to show the benefits of being active and movements on learning. They're better learners when they're active. So what this Chrome extension does is and you can set the timer, but the default is 15 minutes. The screen goes pink, and it gives you a quick activity to do, like do 5 jumping jacks. Press against the wall for 20 seconds.
I'm trying to figure out clothes in here. Would you mind taking the conversation somewhere else? Or
yeah, I apologize.
So distracting.
Whoops. Well, this has happened to me before as well. I was doing a hangout in a hallway, and I was asked to move in the middle of it as well, so I understand.
I have a laptop. So anyway, so what it does is it reminds students to get up and move. That we shouldn't be so sedentary and having students sit there for long.
Don't you think it's apropos that you just got up and moved, and it's been about 15 minutes?
There's a little lounge here.
This was planned, by the way.
Yeah, well, but I use this when I do professional development. And, I love it because I say, so it needs to be like a couple-hour workshop at least to really pull this off. I'm like, okay, this is going to go off every 15 minutes. And I have a great video that shows, like, everyone's working and doing something, and just all of a sudden, everyone breaks out in arm circles.
Oh, nice.
just a really nice community builder, but just helping us to remember that we should be lifelong fitness, and just thinking about there's small ways that we can integrate other subject areas. We don't have to teach PE curriculum, and PE guys don't have to teach math curriculum, but there's so many small ways that we can collaborate together. So I think it's a really nice way to start those conversations to get different subject areas working together. Anyway, I love that app.
Mm-hmm.
One that I posted this week is called Tab Resize. What I have learned is that teachers do not know how to, and students, do side-by-side windows. So all the time I'm talking about grading and some different things, and they're like, how do I get this in the grade book? Like, it's so distracting. And it's so difficult. And I'm like, well, you just put your windows side by side. And so many times I get this like, how do you do that? And it seems so mind-blowing, right? But for users of Google Classroom, for students, the teachers put the directions in Google Classroom, and then they're doing digital work. How do they keep referencing back to the directions? So this idea that you can get your windows side by side, so you have your Google Classroom directions side by side with the work that they're working on. So there's a bunch of Chrome extensions that will do tab scissors and tab glue.
Mm-hmm. I use Windows Tyler is the one I use to do that, and you can put them. I think you can do 4 corners and things like that.
Yeah, and this particular one, it allows you to choose. You want it 4 windows all at once. You want them top and bottom. You want them side by side. So anyway, there's a bunch of them that will do this task. So someone pinged me a couple of months ago with a problem that the teachers were putting announcements in Google Classroom, and they wanted to be able to post the announcement to their website. And it's like, well, you copy and paste.
Sure.
This was the IT director, and he's like, that's challenging for a lot of teachers because they don't know how to do the side-by-side windows. Mm. And so I thought, and with some other conversations I had, just realizing that doing the side-by-side windows is not a natural thing that people don't. It is kind of tricky, actually, to do it. So I actually paid some person on Odesk, O-D-E-S-K, a website that you can hire programmers. You want to kind of be careful. You don't know who they are. But I hired a programmer to create me a Chrome extension. So if you install it, you're able to right-click and in the settings, put your gradebook link or Google Classroom or whatever you want. I call it Gradebook Split. So as you're grading student work, you're like, I need to put this student work in the gradebook. You click on the Chrome extension, and your gradebook pulls up right next to the student work. It is dependent upon your gradebook being web-based, so if you are using PowerSchool, you're kind of out of luck. But you want me to tell you how much it cost?
Oh.
So it cost me $150.
For a Chrome app?
Yeah, for the Chrome app. So I had this idea, and I just wrote it up like, this is what I want to have happen, is I want to split the windows so they're side by side, so it takes all the tabs you have and squishes them over, and then pull up a new window where it goes to the default website that you detail. So this is what I want to do, and within a week, he had it done, and yeah, so it cost me $150. I was so thrilled with it. It worked great. So that is, if you type in Alice Keeler when you go to the Chrome Web Store, you can find that. So of course, it's also linked on my blog, alicekeeler.com. And then the one that I found most recently is full-page screen capture. Most of the time when you capture a page, it goes to a PDF, which limited usefulness on that. Sure. This does it as a PNG. Nice. So it's a photo or an image file, and it does the whole web page. So I went to Google Plus, where it has everybody's Facebook. And it has everybody's stuff, and it's a really long posting there. And I was able to capture all of it into one image. So when I want to share resources and this is the web page you're looking at, it's the whole thing. So that was anyway. That's my new find.
How would you suggest? Because we go to a lot of conferences and hear about all these different apps and extensions and things like that. But a teacher who may not be as active as we are. How would you? I mean, you could spend hours searching through the App Store.
Right, I do.
Place. How would you recommend they kind of besides obviously your blog, how else can they kind of be more efficient with finding apps that may benefit them?
When you have a sea of options, your PLN, the people that you network with and that you know is your best source for everything. So obviously I connect with people on Twitter, and I just throw it out there and I ask. I do searches on the blogs of people that I trust. The teaching can be a very lonely and difficult profession, and I think we need to move away from that, and where we are constantly asking and connecting with other educators as a habit of practice. So I don't know any other good way. Do you have a good way?
No, not really. It's just I hear about one, and usually it's I didn't know I needed it till I hear about it, and I'm like, you know what? I've been doing something similar to that all the time, and didn't realize there was an easy way for me to do it.
All the time I look on Twitter, and I'm like, I didn't know that. I mean, I learn something new all the time, right? And so that's why I share. So whenever I'm doing something that I think is useful, I tweet it. So I'll do Command Z undo, and I will tweet. If I were to tweet that right now, I would probably get 10 retweets on that. It's something you think everyone knows, but they don't. And so I just don't take for granted that everyone would know it, because there's something all the time someone says to me, Alice, you don't know that? No, I don't know everything. So I really believe in being a sharer. When I find something is useful, I share it out in some medium. I share it on Twitter, or I share it on my blog, or I share it on Google+, or I just tell my neighbor, but if you think it's useful, tell somebody else.
That's why I have the Chrome extension called Add This, which basically you can add it to anything, Twitter, Facebook, any blog, you can email it, you can do whatever with whatever you're looking at, and I use it constantly.
Awesome.
In fact, because a lot of times I'm logged in my personal Gmail, and I need to get it over to my Google Apps for Education, I just do the add this, and you can add it to an email or Drive or whatever you want, and I do that all the time because I'm trying to just push it to someplace else, So there's one.
I'm back.
You're back. That was quick. Alice, I got another question when it does talk about Chrome and managing Chrome. And it's interesting because I was talking with some people at Google, and of course they're really promoting the Google Play Store because those apps are vetted and they know that they comply with FERPA. But we don't have a Chrome web store yet that really fits that bill. So if you're a district,
actually part of Google Play does include Chrome apps.
It does. Okay. So if you're a district and you really just want to okay, we just bought Chromebooks and we want to spread out some apps right away, they could grab them right out of the Google Play Store. That would be awesome for a lot of new startups.
Education store.
Yes. You're right. Because they've actually done the work on them. Now, for the rest of the apps, there's a little bit of homework you need to do to read some of the terms of service and
absolutely.
And find out what they're going to do with the kids' information if they have it. So that is an important aspect. Teachers, I realize they don't have the time to always read those.
Ridiculous to read those. Some of them are like 50 pages.
Exactly.
And they're written in legal speak.
Yeah, so it's kind of important that a lot of, if they do find one, they need to kind of go out there and maybe find blogs that talk about them so that they can say, yeah, that's being used in other schools, I think it's going to work, And that kind of leads me into that whole idea of, whose job is it to read those? Because some schools have a person that does spend a little time with their teachers and sits down and says, hey, we got to comply.
Sorry, I was by the window. I was by the window, and now I'm not. So my cell phone signal is not as good.
We're going to have to talk to your hotel about their Wi-Fi.
Yeah, well, I'm not on their Wi-Fi. I'm tethering my phone. Ah!
Oh, are you? Oh, wow. Okay.
I have the Wi-Fi code for the hotel.
Okay, so you do a lot of scripts as well.
Well, that's something I recently learned. It was in December. I just thought over winter break that I would do Codecademy for JavaScript. So I went through the JavaScript Codecademy, and I'm not super sure I would recommend that. So I have a degree in math. I took a computer science class in college. I taught math. I'm like the spreadsheet master. I I love spreadsheets, and I make complex spreadsheets all the time. And so when I'm going through this, there was a lot of things I had to Google to figure out, and some parts of it that I found that were a little bit frustrating. But that's not the only source for JavaScript information. So if you want to, if you're willing to Google some of it and to look at some of these, it was a good tutorial. So I was able to go through there. But then I have a friend who works for Google, and he was telling me about Google Apps Script is built off of JavaScript. So I just looked, and I had this idea in my head while I was doing the Code Academy JavaScript that I wanted to be able to take a list of student names in a spreadsheet and to create a tab for every single kid where it has their name on it. So I had an hour before I was going to get on a plane, and I just looked at Apps Script, and it is so intuitive. You want to make a copy? The method is called make copy, parentheses. You know, if you want to rename something, it's just create name. I mean, if you just go to, let me screen share. Let me go quick, screen share. Entire screen. And so if you go to the Google device, just type in, I'll just start from scratch. I do a Google search for Google Apps Script, right? Mm-hmm. And it's going to come up here that they've got the Google Developers page, and they have tutorials on here that are really easy to follow. Teaches you how to make different things. So basically what Google Apps Script does is it allows you to manipulate Google Docs. And so you come down here to Google Apps Services, and you can see I can manipulate Google Calendar. Let me make this larger. Manipulate Google Calendar, Contacts, Documents, Google Drive, Google Forms, Gmail, Google Groups, Google Maps, Google Sites, and Spreadsheets. And so when I click on it, so I go here to Spreadsheet. Sorry, it's large. I want to go Spreadsheet app, go down to the sheet. When I read here in the methods, like append row, just add extra rows. Clear the data in the sheet. You just start kind of reading through here. Copy to, so copy information. Delete a column. I mean, the vocabulary on this, when you read through the list, you get just reading through the list, you're like, I can do that? So I think this is a really low barrier to entry to get kids to start doing coding in schools, because
oh, did we lose you again?
Yeah, looks like we lost her again.
Now, I was going to ask her, where do they start scripting? And hopefully she'll be able to answer that when she gets back.
We're going to make it through here. Low barrier to entry for kids doing coding in schools, because I think some of the problem is we ask kids to code and they do hello world. And like, why would I want to do that? You know, and you go through all this where you have some sort of an output on the screen. You're like, wow, I made it into a little calculator, but I have a calculator on my phone. So why would I want to do that? And so when you can give kids a task, they're like, oh, that's so cool. Like, you know, you can see a product at the end of it. And with Google Apps Script, I can do 2 lines of code and make it manipulate and do something to Google Docs. And like, I made Google Docs do something. You know, I think it feels really cool. And you need to know so little JavaScript to make it happen. So I've recently started doing a few blog posts on getting started with Google Apps Script. So the things that you need to know in order to do it is how to do a function. So you type the word function, and then you name it, and it has to be all one word. Open parentheses, and then you do a curly brace to start and a curly brace to end, and you put your code in between the curly braces. So I tell it to open the Google Drive app if I want to manipulate something in Google Drive, and then I'll say like I want to make a copy of a document. I'll put make copy parentheses, and then you have to put a semicolon to designate the end of the sentence, and then I go and I get the URL, the ID of the Google Doc I want to copy, and I just put it in the parentheses. There, I've made a script right there.
Alice, can you tell us where you would go to start to write the script? If I go to my Google Apps for Education account, where do I click to start writing a script?
So it's actually right in the Google Doc itself. So when you go to Google Docs or Google Sheets, you go to Tools, and it says Script Editor, and it has a place where you can type your code right in there.
Perfect.
So again, when I go to that developer page, it has some really nice tutorials. You can also go to script.google.com, and it gives you a blank template for the script. So I think there's like 5 lines to this tutorial script where it creates a Google document out of thin air, and it really is. When you look at the little parts, it's very intuitive, I think. You know, it's easy to break it down. I would totally do this with third graders, honestly. And so, you know, I create a document out of thin air, and then I name that document, and then it says append paragraph, so I can start putting like directions or different notes on there, and then I do one that says add editor. So I add students' names into who's going to be editors of this document. So it just, I mean, yeah, I could just go to Google Drive and I can create documents, but it's not as fun as just creating stuff out of thin air. I made this, and I shared it with a bunch of people, and I did the sharing permissions. What's really nice about using scripts to make copies of documents or to create documents is when I create a copy of a document, it automatically creates the copy in the folder of the original file, which does not happen when I file make a copy of a document. Mm-hmm. So I like to make badges. So I have Google Drawings where I'm trying to create pictures, and if I'm going to do like a project, I'm going to have a lot of badges to go along with that project. And so I'm like, make a copy, make a copy, make a copy, make a copy. Like, oh, it's, you know, it takes forever. So in 4 lines of code, I can write a script to make 20 copies of my document like that, and it'll save them all in the same folder automatically. And that's actually the tutorial I did on lesson number 3 for my script lesson on my website. But it's that I call up the Drive app, and then I identify the document that I want to make a copy of. So I get the document ID. I have to copy and paste that. And then I write what's called a for loop. So I say for I equals 0, so long as I is less than 20. And then make a copy, right? Make copy, make copy. So it's going to count and increment 1, 2, 3, all the way up to whatever number I pick, 20. So it's these 4 lines of code that is really, when you stop and you just look at it, I think it's really accessible. This is a way that we can get kids to do something that is useful and fun, and I'm just a big supporter of kids creating.
So then when you write this script, does it, I mean, I know it saves it in your drive, correct? Mm-hmm. But does it save it in, say, the script library so that you can access it from another doc?
So no. So if you want it to be reusable, unfortunately what you have to do is you have to copy and paste it into the script editor for every document. Or I go to script.google.com and it makes the blank script where it's just the script. And depending, like where I'm saying it creates out of thin air, I can run it from just the script without it being in the script editor of a document in particular. But really, most of the time, what I'm doing is I'm taking that code and I'm copying and pasting it. If you want it to be reusable repeatedly, you have to make it an add-on. So let me screen share and show you this add-on that I'm doing. Okay, so hopefully it doesn't like kick me out. Let me get rid of this. So can you see this okay?
We do.
So
yes.
If I go to Tools, Script Editor, you can see that I already have in the back end, I have my script that I've already written. Now this is going to look really intimidating, but it's actually only looks like a lot because I copy and pasted the same thing like 100 times. Mm-hmm. So what this says is on opening, do you see where it says Create Add-on Menu? Sure. So I'm telling it to create a menu, and then I just have a bunch of stuff in my menu. Usually I only have 1 or 2 things. I have a whole bunch of stuff there. Let me skip down here a little bit. Look at just this, because this says function, mark is graded, and then it has 3 lines of code. And then what I did is I took those 3 lines and I copy and pasted it like a whole bunch of times so that it would do different names. So let me show you what this does. I'm going to name this document document. Mm-hmm. So when I go to the add-on menu, you see I have here copy of marked as graded. This is my script that I put into the script editor.
Oh my goodness, I already can tell what it does.
So the first thing I do is I'm like, oh, you know, I've returned this to the student. So when it runs, it's going to add the word return to the end of the document title. So as a teacher, that helps me to be consistent. It's always spelled the same. It always looks the same. So when I want to do a filter search, it's a little bit slow because my internet's obviously not very good here. So just give it a minute. It'll show up. Mm-hmm. I can do it multiple times. So just for fun, I'll just.
So it looks like this is your simplistic grader you've actually scripted out grading.
Right, and then I added 3 more lines of code to do this one. This was really easy. I wanted to do like badges, like stars of mastery, like Angry Birds. So here, 3 stars of mastery. Watch this. I'm like, so, oh wait, it's not, I have the wrong code in there. Dang it.
That one still looks pretty cool.
Okay, so, because why is it, there it is. Oh, there they are.
I see. Ah.
Lagging. I see what my problem was. It was already there, and I didn't delete enough of them because I was running this earlier. So I'm going to try this one more time.
Mm-hmm.
So the directions at the top.
So for those that are just listening, she's actually running a script that places a badge right in the document, right at the top.
So do you see how easy that was? So now here's the problem. The problem that script was really easy for me to do because I don't write all the scripts. I mostly copy and paste off the internet. So I'm like, I have this idea, and then so I just like type Google Apps Script and then what my idea is, and I go find code that someone else has written and modify that. And if you go to the Google developer page, let me screen share that again. When I go to the developer page, they have sample code that I can just copy and paste. Let me see if I can find some. Right? Do you see this?
Okay.
So for each of those things, now that I made it big, I can't see it anymore. For each of those things, it gives me a little, not every single one of them, but they give me sample code that I can copy and paste. So then I got to use my critical thinking to think, okay, well, how do I modify this for what I'm trying to do? But I don't have to memorize all this stuff from scratch. So I wanted to add an image. I went and found somebody else's code that did it, and then I made a drawing in Google Draw, and when you go File, Publish, it gives you a URL to the image, and I was able to modify what they had to put it on there. So I got it to work, but I have to run that script and authorize it per document because it's not really on the add-on menu. It's only on the add-on menu for that document. So when you're a high school teacher with 200 students, a script looks really cool until you realize that you have to like copy and paste and install it 200 times. Then not so fun. So, but I just need to apply to be a Google Apps developer, and it just takes a few weeks that they look at your code and say, okay, you conform to all the standards, and then it's in the gallery. There
we go. That's what we want, is some of those in the gallery.
Yes. Yeah, right. So I'm always looking for teacher solutions, but how exciting is it for a kid to come up with a usable and useful solution and get that published in? That's what really excites me. Is I want to see some student-created add-ons to the add-on menu, like when any other student goes into the gallery, they can do those. And I'm just trying to sell you on that. It's really doable.
Well, I could see too for students or classes, schools going to Chromebooks.
Yeah.
Students could write apps for other students that work on Chromebooks.
Absolutely. I mean, it's working with Google Docs. So you're really only limited by your imagination. So if you want to like think of how crazy you can get, just remember that all of the add-ons were created using Google Apps Scripts. So Flubrew, Autocrat, Doctopus, all of those, somebody just, Andrew Stillman, spent a lot of time starting small, and you just build on your script. So that one that I showed you, the mark is graded, I started off with 3 lines of code, where when I go to the menu and I choose graded, it put the word graded on the title. And then I just copied that, and I just kept adding to it and making it bigger and bigger. So I think that's the place to start, is saying, you know what, I can do a lot of things with 3 lines of code. Okay, now that you can do that, how can you kick it up a notch? In fact, if you look a lot of my scripts, they all involve making tabs on a spreadsheet. Because that was my first one, and I don't think I finished the story, but after an hour, I got it to work, where I have a list. It's if you go to alicekeeler.com/roster tab, you put a list on the first tab, and then you run the roster tab out of the menu, and it creates a tab per student. If you've ever had to make more than 5 tabs, you know what a pain that is. So you can even do it just for like budget and just all the different parts of a project. It doesn't have to be kids' names. So again, I need to get that into the add-on menu or the add-on.
How do you share a script with somebody?
So the way, if you look at my, thanks for asking, I'm all over the place here. So if you look at my mark is graded directions, it says that I have a document where I've already have the script in the script editor. So tools, script editor, the script's already there. So if you make a copy of this document, it's going to be in there.
Okay.
So my method of distributing is I take the word edit. I don't know, can you see this where I have the word edit highlighted? Change it to the word copy.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Now, if you distribute that link, and this works for Google Docs, Google Sheets, Google Drawings. I'm missing one. Google Slides.
Yeah.
Yeah. It works on all of those. Watch what happens when I press enter. Is it prompts a copy. So if I'm building my script in the script editor in the document, I just share a copy of the document, and then they have a copy of the script, and then they don't have to copy and paste the script and do all those things. Let me, if I can, just demonstrate the roster tab real quick.
Sure.
Okay, so I'm going to go to a new tab. I'm going to go to alicekeeler.com/roster tab. And it's going to prompt me to make a copy.
There it is. It's coming.
Coming?
It should, yes.
Here, but you'll see that it says roster to tabs. It's a copy of my document. If I go to tools and I were to go to the script editor, we could look at the script, but of course things are running slow, so we're going to not do that. But I'm just going to type in the list of my students' names, like Alice, Nancy, Paul, John. I'm just going to put Alice again just in case there's a duplicate. And so then all I have to do is I go up here to roster tab. I have a menu. You can do it as an add-on or just as an extra menu, and I run roster tab. And what you're going to see, I have to authorize the script. That's pain. Yes, do it. That. For roster tab, it's totally worth it. So you see it changed the first, I don't know if you can see down here at the bottom. It changed the first tab to the name roster, and then I've got a tab for student. And then because Alice was the 5th name in the list, and there was a duplicate, it called it Alice 5, because you can't have 2 tabs with the same name.
Oh, nice.
And I also have it set where if you click this image, that it's linked to, it runs the roster tab. Oh, it's going to be really mad at me because I did it again.
But anyway. You did it twice, yes.
Yeah. So, so I have these scripts then again, so I just have them distributed with making a copy.
I think that's just cool right there that you're distributing out yours that you're making. Thank you.
Yeah. You're welcome. So anyway, I have that one, and then I have one that I was telling you that I build on it, right? So then I thought, well, that's cool that each kid gets a blank tab because I like to use it for discussions, and every student contributes their own piece to a collaborative.
Oops, did we lose her?
Yeah, we got her frozen again.
Well, I have one that I was thinking that I'd love if maybe a high school student would create really quickly, just a word count add-on, or even one that would count unique words, or because
count characters so they
character count too. Yeah, so we're brainstorming which ones that the students need to go ahead and script out, which is word count is one, because high school students are always asked. Yeah.
Although Control-Shift-C does a word count in a Google Doc, but yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, they could do it with some more specifics. We were talking about like if they were to have unique words, or if they use the same word, how many times they used it. That kind of a thing would be good.
Code is .length.
Oh, nice.
You say .length around whatever it's counting, and it'll give you the length count. So I mean, that's actually a really easy thing to code.
That'd be great, because then you could talk to them about their writing and, you know, whether they were using the same word over and over again, or do they tend to use too many simplistic adjectives?
Yeah, and there's absolutely a Google Apps script to search the document and to search Google Drive. So those would totally be very doable. So anyway, I was telling you, I build on them. So I have the roster tab, and then I have one called template tab, so that the second tab you can build a graphic organizer like a rubric or you know, whatever you would use that students would fill out information. And so then again, when you go to the menu, it creates a tab for every kid, but it copies the template. And so I have alicekeeler.com/template tab to do that, but then I made alicekeeler.com/rubric, I think it's rubric tab, where I have already pre-made a a sample rubric that you can fill in, so it's all ready to go. So when you want to grade that, let me double check that. Let me screen share again. Hopefully I don't get kicked out. Okay, alicekeeler.com/rubric. Rubric tab. I'm a big advocate of kids making spreadsheets. And so this is just a way to kick it up a notch to share things and do some cool stuff. So you notice when I go to the second tab, I already have a skeleton of a rubric in here. And so you would just fill this out. So like use glitter, critical thinking, which of course I don't want use glitter to be 25% of the grade. I only want it to be 5. And see, it automatically says, hey, wait a minute, this doesn't add up to 100%. And something else, and then I put in a 5th category of, standard 1.6. It automatically rebalances them. And I need 35 points to make it add up to 100, like it does all of this for me. And then when I go to my roster, and I'm like, okay, well, I need to grade Alice, Nancy, and Paul. That's me, my brother, and my sister. I go create rubrics, run rubric tab, or you can click on the little button. It's going to do it. Thinking about it. It should make me authorize it. Okay, so in theory, if you could picture this, that a tab is made for every student, which looks like the rubric, but it matches like all the criteria that I put in there. Anyway, yay, internet.
Oh, that's great.
But anyway, the point is that they're all basically the same script that I just keep and then I could do this with this, and then I could do this, and it just, even though I'm just adding 1 or 2 lines of code, it's so satisfying.
I think too, getting students to understand how code is mainly just lines that tell the computer what to do, and if you can learn to read those lines, you can easily, I had somebody the other day that was trying to replicate a Google site. And I said, well, if you just right-click, you can see view source and read their HTML and identify how they did it that way. And just understanding that concept helps a lot.
I'm a big advocate of learning HTML. I can't tell you how many times I'm doing something, like I insert an image and you can't get underneath it, right? Doesn't that happen to you all the time?
Yeah.
So when I do this in like WordPress or whatever, or Google Sites, I have to toggle to the HTML view so I can put a less than, P, greater than, so I can create a paragraph so I can get underneath the darn thing. So if you just learn just like a couple little tricks, just a couple little HTML tags, your life just becomes so much easier when you're using web tools, because a lot of them do allow you to edit the HTML, and you don't have to know everything. If you just know that you shouldn't put stuff in between the less than and the greater than, you're way ahead of the game.
Well, Alice, I know that you are very busy. You're always traveling, and you're always, going to a conference, as you do. Yeah. And we've been really fortunate to catch you in between all these, or actually during one.
It's so bad today.
No, it's wonderful. So would you mind telling our listeners where they can find you? I know we've hit on alicekeeler.com, but like maybe Twitter and some other places.
Right, so I'm the world's biggest narcissist because I'm at Alice Keeler on Twitter. I'm alicekeeler.com on my website, and then you can email me, alice@alicekeeler.com. Just remember, it's 2 E's and 1 L.
And I just want to say, too, I mean, you're one of my go-tos as a tech coach. If there is ever a teacher that asks a question, and if I can't off the top of my head, well, have you tried Alice Keeler's site? She probably has the answer, and it's amazing because you almost always do.
Anytime someone asks me a question, I blog it, because you can't possibly be the only one.
No, we use it often.
Thank you.
And I like how a lot of your blog posts are just one simple little piece, like how to make a copy of a document. Instead of giving a lot of information that somebody who's just trying to figure out how to make a copy of a document, you've just got one, little paragraph saying this is how exactly you do this little piece.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Although they get long with the screenshots, but
yeah.
Oh, but those are so vital.
Yeah.
And you're using, obviously, your Chrome extension for that, right?
Yeah, I absolutely use the Chrome extension, but mostly I use the Snagit full version.
Yes.
I need to blur out student names. That's critical.
Incredible. And yeah, well, we rely on those screenshots for just about everything.
Yeah, right.
One last little Chrome app that I just added was Screencastify, and that one will do, your little video.
Absolutely.
Pretty good,
someone was telling me, was it Screencastify, that it gives you the link that you can drop it down into the kids' document, so I can screencast it and give them feedback, and then I got that link right away that I can just drop it into the Google Doc.
Yes.
I think it was that one. So that one's a really cool one. I think that's
pretty
super
sweet.
important.
In Snagit, you have to put the extension and the app on.
Yes, you do have to install them both.
So you have to follow. If you're not familiar with extensions and apps, there's directions you kind of have to follow to figure out how to get it to work properly. But it is a great extension once you get it both of those installed to work together. So.
Awesome.
All right. We're going to keep searching. We're going to keep looking around for a lot more of these extensions.
Yeah, and I've got like 5. I've got like 5 written down right now that I got to add as soon as we're finished.
Well, look,
exactly.
I've got that list on my website, so hopefully some of those will be helpful to you.
I did a search on your website for extensions, and I got all of them, all of your postings that you've done since the beginning. So you'll be able to find every single one that you have recommended.
Yes. I also started populating just a page that is a page of the pages. Because I started to get out of control. I have a lot of them, yeah?
Worthwhile.
Thanks.
Well, thank you, Alice, for your time, and also
Thank you.
especially since you're at a conference. I know it's tough to go back to your hotel and continue to do work. So we appreciate you connecting with us this evening.
Yeah,
So.
thanks for having me.
All right. Hope to see you soon too.
I'm sure we will. I get around.
Good. All right.